Hey everyone, welcome back to bageltcg. Today we're going to be looking at the top 4 heroes that you should play at your local skirmish this season. This skirmish season is Blitz, so we will be looking at the top 4 Blitz heroes. And I usually do a tier list of some sorts when looking at stuff like this, but I thought it'd be more helpful instead of looking at a larger view of just all the heroes that you could play in Blitz and where they fit in the format, looking at not just the 4 heroes that you should be playing, but the decks for those 4 heroes. And obviously, this won't be as in-depth as a normal deck tech. Like the last one I posted was like 20 to 30 minutes. You know, it goes pretty in-depth. I look at basically every card and talk about it. These will just be looking at an overview of the decks. I don't want to make an hour-long video. I'm usually not patient enough to sit through those, and I don't think most of you would be either. My attention span is just too short for hour-long videos. So I'm going to go through them and kind of do an overview of each deck, and we'll look at it from there. Pretty zoomed in right now, but first I want to give a shout out to Whooped Wizard. They are one of the sponsors of this channel. You can use my affiliate link in the description and help support the channel while getting really great deals and really fast shipping on your sealed and singles for Flesh and Blood. All right, so let's hop in the decks, right? So the 4 heroes that we have are going to be Oldhim, Viserai here, Kasai, and Kano, right? So those are the 4 top heroes in Blitz right now. We've got Oldhim, Viserai, Kasai, and Kano. They each serve a different kind of function. They each have a different level of power in what they bring to the format. But I'd say those are pretty much the top 4 and what you should be choosing from if you want to kind of spike and win your skirmish, right? You might hear Benji from some people, and while he is strong, any deck that can block him pretty well, he just folds to. Any deck with decent armor block. So if he ever runs into basically any of the decks I just said, especially Oldhim, the first 3 is Oldhim, Viserai, and Kasai, he's probably not going to win that matchup. And I just don't like bringing decks that I can't recommend, that I don't think can beat most of the other field, right? So first we're going to start with Oldhim here. So there's actually 2 ways to build Oldhim. There is this kind of aggressive variant that I like more. This actually seems a little similar, right, to the version that Matt Rogers played at the New Zealand Nationals, right? So it's a more aggressive version, uses Sledge of Anvilheim. There's also this more fatigue version that I was sent that uses just a ton of defense reactions here, bunch of staunches. It basically just wants to run your opponent out of cards. This deck almost never is going to attack, right? So it's just a very defensive, run your opponent out of cards style of deck. So I'm going to talk about these 2. We'll start with Oldhim. I think Oldhim is what I'll be on because I like Guardian. I'll probably be on this aggressive variant. The reason I think the aggressive variant is the correct choice is because of Viserai here. So Viserai, Viserai is very strong. He's probably the best Rune Blade you could pick right now in Blitz. He has the ability to be a very, very aggressive Rune Blade, like the traditional Rune Blade that's able to, build up Rune Chance, come in for some good damage, use Spellbound Creepers, use Revel and Rune Blood, do all the stuff that is not actually banned, that, Viserai is able to do, so, and that Rune Blades are able to do. But the thing is that he's able to, against like Oldhim and these more defensive decks, switch into that OTK plan, right, using BLITZ Skeleton and using Sonata Arcanix and OTK his opponent by building up, 20 Rune Chance. Probably not that many in Blitz, probably a dozen Rune Chance in Blitz first, right? So it's, he's able to do that as well, and that gives him game against these more defensive decks, and that's one of the reasons he's the best option for Rune Blades in Blitz right now. But if you do that defensive option on Oldhim here, then you're kind of just auto losing to Viserai a lot. This deck doesn't apply any pressure. The Viserai is just going to go up to like 20 Rune Chance or more and just kill you on the spot. You're just not going to stand a chance. He'll just obliterate you. So I think Viserai is probably the most popular deck in the format, and I don't think it's correct to take this Fatigue Oldhim if you're going, and maybe not the most popular, but at least near me, he's the most popular, and he's going to be one of the top 5 most popular. But I don't want to take a deck that's just going to automatically lose to one of the other popular decks, right? So I like this aggressive version of Oldhim here. This is able to apply pressure. It runs, a lot more of his attacks. You've got Endless Winter here. It's got Command and Conquer with Pummels. It's got E-Strikes. It's got all these, like this deck doesn't run any red attacks except like Oakenold and Endless Winter. And I actually added the Endless Winter in. Before it was just on Oakenold. But I added a lot of attacks in here. We also use Sledge of Anvilheim to kind of beat our opponents down. like Viserai, so we can't, they don't care about Winter's Wail anyways because Viserai has a lot of cost reduction and Frostbite doesn't hurt him too much, but this Sledge of Anvilheim will definitely come in for a lot of damage. So I think that's the plan with this deck. It's usually can be pretty defensive. We still have Steadfast here to block. We've got Sink Belows. We've got Staunch Response. We've got Oldhim's Hero ability. So we can still be pretty defensive, and almost all of our cards block pretty well. And if they don't block well, they at least activate Oldhim's ability. So this deck can move into a defensive plan using Winter's Wail and one of the shields here. But if it needs to, if it's a deck that it can't go defensive against, Prism is another example where it can be hard to go defensive against. Not nearly as popular as Viserai, but that's just another example, right? But especially with Viserai being so popular, we can't try to fatigue him out, really. Next up, we will look at Viserai here. So Viserai is the premier Runeblade in this format, just like I would say he's the premier Runeblade in Classic Constructed as well. We have the suite. We always are going to have 11 loadout in Blitz because you have separate slots, unlike in Classic Constructed where they share slots in your whole board, so you can just run a bunch here. And then we have what looks like basically a normal Runeblade Viserai deck. This looks basically exactly like a Classic Constructed deck, just cutting out the third copy of everything. It's very close to identical. We do get to run one Plunder Run because despite what it says right here, Plunder Run is legal in Blitz. But yes, this is Matt Folk's deck that he got second place with at the Battle Hardened in, I believe, Leeds. It was in the UK, I think. So he got second place with that. I think he ended up losing to Oldhim in the finals. But he shouldn't. I think it was an aggro Oldhim like I was talking about. I believe it wasn't the full defensive Oldhim. Next, I'd say in third place, in my opinion. I'd say like Viserai and Oldhim are tied for second. And then I'd say Kasai here and Kano are tied, like third, fourth, right? I'd say those are the top two, and then there's a, third and fourth. But I don't think there's a big distinction between those top two or those third and fourth, right? But looking at Kasai here, we've got the, she's got a lot of power now from blood on her hands. So this is a new specialization that lets her, by sacrificing, I think, 6 copper. So you have to build up a good bit of copper, but by sacrificing 6 copper, she gives her weapons plus like a big damage boost. We're just gonna, I'm not gonna go over a bunch of cards, but we'll read this one. So you give your weapons both plus one damage, right? So they're both swinging for 3 to start with. They both can go again when attacking this turn. They can both attack twice. So you can come in for 4 total weapon swings, right? So each weapon is coming in twice and coming in with go again and has +1. And this costs 0. So if you play this and you activate your Courage of Bladehold, that makes your sword attacks cost 1 less. For the 0 resources, 0 to play blood on her hands and 0 to swing with your swords and activate Courage. So for 0 total, you can come in for 12, right? 4 sword swings at 3 each. And that's if the opponent doesn't block them, so he doesn't activate the Centauri Sabers here. But that's only 1 card, so you still have access to all these pump effects. So you can really come in for a big lethal turn, and it's kind of a combo deck almost, where you're trying to build up to 6 copper, and then come in for a big swing. It doesn't combo quite as well as the Runeblades can combo, like Viserai, but it's still a very powerful deck. It's definitely in the top 4 here, top 3, and it's able to put out a lot of damage. It can be an aggro deck, and it basically is an aggressive deck. Building up copper, blocking a little, maybe a little mid-range blocking, doing damage until it gets to 6 copper, and then it wants to find one of these blood on her hands and really go off from there using Courage of Bladehold. And then last here we've got Kano. Kano is kind of ever-present in Blitz because he does a lot of damage, and with only 20 life, Kano is able to blow people out of the water. Oh, I did want to shout out, this is from one of that top 8, that same Leeds. This is, I think, Peter Ward. Not my deck there either. This is also not my deck. This is, there's no Kano results on fabtcg. This is someone that is just on FabDB this time. So you should still see like a whole big description. They have a whole breakdown of the deck. So very cool, but check it out. I know the least about Kano out of these 4. But he is quite powerful, and he's able to do full 20 damage pretty easily in one turn, and that's what Kano's about. He is finding the right turn, being very patient, finding the right turn, and then dealing all 20 damage basically, or at least whatever your opponent has left in life in one turn, right? He's a very combo. If you've played Magic the Gathering, he's a lot like Storm, trying to deal a bunch of spells in one turn, slowly, dealing a little bit here and there, but then building up to one, maybe sometimes 2 turns of a lot of damage through Arcane, right? And that's the reason why all these other decks in the format have to run a bunch of Null Rune. So, Kasai here's on 3. He's probably also on 3 or 2 here, 3 here. And I think he's actually on 4, technically. So, or 5. I think Oldhim technically has AB5, which is definitely Kano's worst matchup. But yeah, so one of the reasons why everyone has to run AB is because Kano can just blow people out of the water with his arcane damage here. And even with a bunch of arcane barrier, people can still get blown out of the water by Kano. So very powerful combo-y deck. I think all 4 of these are solid options. So if you like an aggressive, disruptive deck, I would pick the aggressive Oldhim. If you like a fatigue, very control deck, I would pick the Oldhim Fatigue. If you like an aggressive deck that can also go combo, so unlike the disruptive aggro, this is combo aggro, I would try Viserai. If you like a more mid-range, blocking and attacking at the same time, that can eventually do a bigger combo, let's do Kasai. And if you want a huge combo where the deck's built around just trying to kill someone in one turn, that's definitely Kano here. So those are the top 4 heroes / 5 decks in Blitz right now. I think they're all great picks. Once again, I'll probably be on the Oldhim aggro, but I'll probably try them all out. I mean, skirmishes last for a few weeks, right? They all look really fun. I haven't played Blitz in a while, so I'm excited to hop back in. Classic Constructions is in a bit of a weird state right now. We don't have anything going on until the bans, right? So the bans are April 5th, which is, I think, 9 days from today. So then obviously the format's going to change a lot if anything does get banned. So we're kind of in a lull right now for about a week, but Blitz is going on and seems to be pretty fun and fairly balanced-ish. So excited for this skirmish season. Let me know what you're playing in the comments below. As always, the deck list will be below. My affiliate link to Whipped and Wizard will be below. Leave any feedback. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.